I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, natural resource specialist at the Oxford Club. His website, energyandresourcesdigest.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Boy, we're looking at a mystery bucket of clues of what's going to happen, we think. We have the Fed hinting very strongly once again it's going to look at rate hikes. Equity markets look like they want to come down somewhere, and OPEC's talking about even more oil sloshing around the planet next year. Let's start off with the Fed. Are they likely to hike rates?
Their next meeting is on the 20th and 21st of this month, which is next week, right? And so when that happens, they've been dropping more and more hints that they are more disposed to hike rates. I still don't believe them because they lie all the time about this. I believe they aren't really worried about gold. In my line of business, that's how it really manifests. What they're worried about is what happens with treasuries. They've already lost control of the long end of the curve because right now all these foreigners from Europe and Japan, which have had negative interest rates up until recently, they've been coming over here, purchasing our treasuries and stuff, and so just taking control of what happens in that market away from the Fed. So I believe the Fed's really been trying to speak up interest rates and push down bond prices, and so they've actually had some effect doing this. Do they move on the 20th and the 21st? I don't know. But my guess would be no, and so therefore I would see this as a buying opportunity of select investments going into it. Of course, you wouldn't want to bet the farm, but, if you are looking to speculate, that's how I would speculate on that.
Japan and Germany actually getting above negative interest rates now?
Yeah, they are. It's really interesting. Japan was about flat last time I checked, and Germany actually went positive, and so we were all really worried. Now, is this just a correction to the longer-term trend, or is this really the bottom? A lot of stuff has been going on in the interest rate markets, and I know many people will turn to click this thing off just because I'm talking interest rate markets. But the stuff that's been going on is so interesting. Because there's been so much investor anticipation built into the markets, when something happens, like the European Central Bank does not specifically mention that it's going to have more like easy money, everyone says, oh my God, that's the end of the easy money, and so then they start to react that way over in Europe, and so you see German yields go back above zero again because people anticipate that the central bank there is going to take away the punch bowl. Here in the U.S., they expect they're going to take away the punch bowl. In Japan, there are rumors in the market. I don't know how these rumors start, by the way, but the rumor is that Japan has reached the limit of what it thinks it can accomplish by just, pouring more and more money into the market. So maybe they'll change their ways, and that's why we saw the reaction in Japan that they did. I think that the swings in investor sentiment are extreme. For myself, I don't think the Fed will follow through. I mean, they could, but even if they did, what would that really prove? Really wouldn't prove a lot. And so I think that the Fed will have to come to the limits, and there are risks to the Fed raising rates. I mean, quite a lot of risks. So much debt around the world is actually priced in U.S. dollars. I mean, you could cause some serious financial trembles if you started to raise rates, and I think they know that, too.
Well, what happens to a place like Venezuela where people are literally starving in the streets, and the country can't even afford to buy more paper to print money.
Well, yeah, I know. Venezuela is a special basket case of how to ruin a country. I mean, things are not working out for them, which is amazing because they have some of the richest oil reserves on the planet, oil and natural gas reserves. Just amazing. But, when are we going to look for the price of oil to go up? OPEC just came out and said that it expects that we've actually having more global oil production this year than they first anticipated by about 150,000 barrels per day. And next year, they're expecting an extra 350,000 barrels per day, because they actually see oil production now going up next year. They were expecting it to go down. And what the difference is there's a new big oil field coming online, but also North American shale producers who have become swing producers in this market and can turn oil on and off, something that I wasn't that actually certain they could do, but apparently they can. And so when prices go up, they bring more oil on from these shale fields all across North America. And so this really is throwing a wrench in the works for OPEC and other oil-producing nations. And it means really that oil gets trapped in a range, just a range where it just kind of zigs back and forth and all that stuff. That still doesn't mean that a black swan event couldn't happen that could send oil prices much higher. Of course that can happen. And I'm sure there are many people in the market who are saying, well, it has to happen eventually. But in the meantime, until this goes along, we'll have to wait for global oil demand to catch up with global oil production. That should happen next year. But until then, we're kind of stuck in a range.
Well, I've noticed lately over the last 2 years, when something bad happens in the Middle East, the price of oil does not automatically go up because North America can look after itself.
Yeah, and now we're also exporting liquefied natural gas too. So we've really become an important swing producer of all sorts of things in the global market. And now they're about to build new offshore wind farms off Rhode Island that added together would be enough power to actually power Great Britain. So it's not like they're going to put an undersea cable and send that power over to Great Britain, but it shows the big things going on in the global energy market right now from all sorts of sources. I mean, we could talk about lithium forever for that matter, and how that is the new energy storage thing. There were some hints earlier this year, I think just last month, as a matter of fact, people were saying, this big bull market in lithium can't last, and so we've seen the top, and people should prepare for that. And meantime, they come out with the news that there's one new giant factory after another being built, not only here in North America, but around the world, a good dozen of them. And so, of course, there's going to be tremendous demand for that. And then Goldman Sachs came out with a new report, and they said in about 5 years, electric cars will be cheaper than gasoline-powered cars. Now, you're thinking, but if the price of lithium goes up, won't that make the cost of electric cars go up? No, that's only a portion of the cost of the car. And when you figure in automation and everything else, and also those cars tend to be lighter, so they're using fewer materials, then yes, the price of an electric car can come down so much that it's cheaper than a gasoline-powered car. So there's tremendous dislocations that could be happening in the market. In the short term, though, I'd expect oil prices to stay in a range, and I'd expect them to go up next year. Beyond that, it's really, really hard to figure.
And of course, too, with lithium batteries, the Elon Musk people are also working on a home electric system where you use solar and wind to power the stuff around your own house and have batteries to store it overnight so you can use it. That's going to be a major player as well that somebody hasn't even mentioned a lot.
Oh, yeah, well, they've actually rolled that out in places now, but it's not, I guess, really widespread. But, yeah, you'll be seeing that around your own neighborhoods and stuff, and, there might be people up in Canada who are saying, well, we're not going to see it up here because of all the clouds and all that stuff. You know what? Germany is a hotbed of, all the solar power. If, they can do it in Germany, they can do it in Canada, too.
Well, Alberta has the most sunshine in the world. It's even sunnier than Saudi Arabia.
I did not know that. I learn something every time I speak to you, dude. That is great.
Yes, Alberta is very sunny. And in the wintertime, even though it's cold outside, lots of sunshine.
Yeah.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, copper is showing a little life. It lost about 10 cents, but now it seems to be stabilizing, maybe going back up again.
Yeah, that's just kind of hard to figure out. We saw copper pull down to multi-month lows, and so but it seems to be having support there. Now, is this a bottom in the market, or is this just some kind of speculative thing where people are saying, okay, that's the line in the sand, we'll keep picking it up there. We'll see how it ends the month. But I think it's very interesting that we're seeing the intensive buying whenever it tries to push down below there. And so now I always keep saying what happens with copper depends on what happens with China, which is true, but it's also a global supply situation, and so we'll have to see how that works out too. But definitely keep your eye on it, because if that starts to pick up, that would be a great sign for the entire global economy, which is stuck in the doldrums right now. We need prices like that to move higher to show renewed economic activity.
What about Hanjin Shipping Lines going bankrupt, the world's biggest shipping line based in South Korea?
Yeah, that's interesting. That really seems like a special oversupply situation. And I've also heard of other groups going in and picking up ships one after another because they think this is the bottom of the market now. But I think too many people built too many ships, which happens from time to time. Boy, talk about an industry that has a boom and bust cycle. International shipping is definitely one of those. So we seem to be at the bust stage, and but again, there are people going in and buying, and so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't think it's an indication of anything really super major bad, like some people would probably read into it.
Well, I've heard that there are fears that the airline industry, the people who actually build the airliners, are in some kind of trouble because orders are way down.
Yeah, well, until we see that confirmed, we hear rumors all the time. That's the problem, is that in a market which is, floating on hot money, and then you get, these big swings in sentiment one way or the other, and they're fueled by rumors. I suppose it's great for speculators, who are probably the ones starting the rumors, but it's really tough to be an investor in this kind of market because things happen that make no sense. When I hear confirmed that airplane orders have really gone down, actually fallen off a cliff, then I'll actually start to worry about that. We aren't seeing the prices in the metals that might lead us to think that, though, so I wouldn't worry about that just yet.
I know, of course, airlines now like to fly their airplanes full. Before, they used to fly around half empty. That might be a factor in sales as well. They're just more efficient at packing those airplanes and finding, more room to cram in more passengers.
Tell me about it. I was just packed into a plane going to Chicago just last week, and boy, they do it. And now I'm actually going to the New Orleans investment conference, which is coming up in October. So if anyone's going to that and they want to talk to me, that's a great time to do it, because I love to speak to both those people who just listen casually as well as my subscribers. So but I'm just not looking forward to that because we get jammed in so much. So yeah, things change in that as well. You have to think, though. The way that prices of fuel have stayed so low for so long, that has to be a boost for the airline industry. If they can't make money in this market, when are they going to make money? There's only so many airplane seats, and they seem to, you don't want to call it you don't want to call it actually collusion, but they seem to be a wink and a nudge thing where they don't have real competition with each other. So prices are, going up a little year after year after year, which turns into real money. The cost of fuel has stayed down. Certainly demand seems up there. So I don't see why airlines shouldn't be actually doing better than they are.
What do you expect to see at the Denver Gold Show this week?
Well, I won't be at the Denver Gold Show, so I'm not going to see anything. But what I like to look for is those companies that are speaking, and they have a list, by the way, so you should check that out. They always have a nice presentation, so I look for those presentations online after the companies speak, because you learn so much about what they're planning, at least in the short term and often longer term. That's the show where they often give a longer term forecast of what they're trying to accomplish and stuff like that. So I heartily recommend that kind of research to anybody. Look up those presentations. They'll really help you out.
Well, I mean, I like going to shows like Cambridge House here in Vancouver. The gold and silver dealers quite often have good bargains on their coins.
Yes, they do. And so you can get those, I'm actually going to a Cambridge House show in November that'll be in San Francisco, I think. Or I'm not sure if I'm going to that. I'm actually trying to go. We'll see how that goes, because that might not work out. One nice thing about this market, and one way you can tell things have actually turned, is there's a lot more activity. My phone is ringing a lot more now, and there's more shows, and people actually show up at the shows who are able to actually get money now so they can do work in the field. Boy, I remember not too long ago, just how dismal it was in the mining industry. Now things seem really to have turned around, things have picked up, and that's one of the nice things about it.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much for having me on.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, Natural Resource Specialist at the Oxford Club. His website, energyandresourcesdigest.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. You can find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.